Welcome to the Author Friendly Podcast. This is Carla King, your host, and I am an author and a self-publishing consultant and teacher at selfpubbootcamp.com. And I'm the author of The Consumer's Guide for Self-Publishers, which you can find on the site for free. It's a web book that I update obsessively, and it was the inspiration for creating the Author Friendly Podcast because I wanted to talk with the people behind the products, tools, and services that you use to write, edit, publish, design, market, everything that you do to create a book and get it up on the retailer sites. So I hope you'll go to selfpubbootcamp.com to find out more. Now on to the podcast.
You'll hear some authors say that they don't need one. And we very much disagree with that, not just because we develop author websites, but you just can't do what you want to do on someplace like Facebook or Twitter.
That was this week's guest, John Burke of PubSite. This episode with PubSite is for you if you don't have a website yet. If you're struggling with your website, and even if you have a great website, I think you'll learn from the expertise provided in this next half an hour. Because PubSite is a super easy to use website builder that was designed specifically for authors and books. And it's an incredibly affordable $20 a month and created by FSB Associates, which is a husband and wife author publisher marketing team that I've known for a long time, who've been developing author websites for over 20 years. And listen to this. Among the big names they've designed sites for are Alan Alda, Clive Cussler, Tom Clancy, Robert Parker, and Jonathan Kellerman. They actually demonstrated this site to me last year, and I was simply awed, and it's why I'm so enthusiastic about sharing it. During my interview with John Burke, we talked through a few sites that PubSite authors have created and the different customizations they've chosen and why. And I've linked to them in the show notes, but don't worry, if you're in your car or at the gym, you'll be able to follow along. Also along the way, we talk about how to configure your email newsletter, do really detailed things like create header images for your site, and how those pesky buy buttons work. That was a particular pain point they solved really nicely. And getting a domain name. John recommends GoDaddy, and so do I. And I include a link to their domain service in the show notes at authorfriendly.com. And you'll also learn why you need to keep your domain name separate from your hosting accounts. Don't worry, we don't get too techy. And finally, we get into mistakes authors make with their websites and give you some top tips for creating an effective site. And you'll find out also what's important to Google. Now, this is a lot to pack into half an hour, and subscribers get a link to some bonus content from this and other episodes, but you need to subscribe at www.selfpubbootcamp.com, and that way I can also email you when a new episode is published. And now, please enjoy my talk with PubSite's John Burke. Hi, John. Welcome to the Author Friendly Podcast.
I'm glad to be here, Carla. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm thrilled to introduce hopefully many, many more listeners and authors to PubSite. I got a glimpse of it before it was launched. My mind was blown because for people who want to follow along, we're looking at pub-site.com, a really easy to use plug and play tool, I think you would call it, for author websites and only author websites. So why don't you just tell us what it does and what makes it different than a WordPress site? What makes it easy?
Yeah, PubSite is a platform for building your own website or having someone help you. We offer a service, a low-cost service to set it up for you. But it's basically an easy-to-use platform for setting up author and book websites. What really sets it apart is every design, layout, feature, and functionality is all about authors and books. So, for example, the information it asks you to add for each book are the sort of industry standard fields of ISBN and binding and those sorts of things. It has a built-in blog because so many authors do want a blog. And the designs and layouts are set up for books and authors. There's a 14-day free trial where you don't even have to put in your credit card. You just go set up an account and go in, and you have full access to the back end to set up a website.
There are fields that are there for you to fill in, like here, add a picture, add your words, add your book ISBN, and it automatically populates the site, right?
Yes, and that's another thing that sets it apart from any other platform, including WordPress, is that it is all form based. So it's like you're working in Microsoft Word and you just enter the information. You have full formatting capabilities over the content. So your author bio or book description, you can add in links or other graphics or whatever you want, but it's extremely easy to use if you've ever used a word processor, which hopefully we all have. And then it will prompt you for all the correct information, including things like SEO tag. So if you just go through, we have a workflow set up. And if you just follow that through and enter in all the information, you have a professional looking website at the end of it without ever having to know a single HTML tag or worry about page layout or design.
That is so great because I like to tell people that it's unbreakable because there's no custom code. You're not adding any PHP or any plugins or anything. You're just filling in a form and it magically looks great. You've got a bunch of themes as well.
Now we have about 10. We just added a couple of new ones recently, and we will continue to add them. So there will always be new themes or designs that you can choose from. And they are all customizable. So you can pick one, but then you have the ability to go in and customize it in terms of color scheme or adding graphics or even changing the layout. We have I think now about 9 different homepage layouts you can choose from, which gives you a lot of flexibility. So pretty much you can find what you need and find a site that works for you.
It's pretty nice. And you can change those at any time, right? You just go click, I don't like this layout anymore, and it reflows into a new layout.
Exactly. All the bits of information, what now people like to call metadata, that you put in goes into a particular field in a database. So it can be pulled in and displayed in any way, anywhere on the site. And that's how we have that type of flexibility in design and layout.
Yeah. And also, okay, this is a terrible pain point for even somebody like me who knows how to use WordPress. Is you have your book and you say, here's my book, and it's sold on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Nook and 10 other places. And I have to copy all of those little icons and match the short link maybe to it and make sure that it is organized on the page so it actually sits under very beautifully the book.
Right.
And it's just, I mean, really, just that little thing has driven me crazy. And when I saw your solution for that, I think I threw my hands up in the air and I almost hugged you. I was like, wow, this is amazing. So talk about how that happens. And
yeah, that's a very popular feature. Of course, because we've been developing author websites for over 20 years, we know all the struggles, we know what a site needs, and we know how to make that happen. So, for example, with the bookseller buy buttons for everybody from Amazon and B&N to Indies and iTunes, and we even offer buttons for international ones, Indigo in Canada, and some Booktopia and Dimmix and Wordery for international authors. But yes, all you need to do, for example, find your book on Amazon, copy the URL out of your browser at the top, come back and paste it into a field, and then all of a sudden that button will appear where it's supposed to on the page. And you do that for all of them, and whichever ones you paste in, those buttons will appear. You can add them and remove them literally in seconds. So this is a real big plus for authors because that, like you said, is something they struggle with. They go onto their WordPress site and try to put in bookseller buttons, and it's a nightmare.
It looks terrible. It looks so unprofessional, and it confuses your reader. And what you want is what you've got here is you want to have all the choices in front of the reader. So if they're a Barnes and Noble customer, they can click right there.
Right. And we even have Audible for audiobooks.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, there's pretty much, right now we have 20 buttons for booksellers. And if we get a demand for more, we will add them. That's not
Wait, have you ever had an author use all 20 of those buttons?
No, we haven't. No, not even close, actually.
That's funny. So I also want to say that I'm looking and I see that there are authors with one book, and there's an author I'm looking at here with 40 books.
Right.
So it works for any number of books. How does somebody arrange that many books? I'll let you go through it. I'm looking at one example here.
Okay, which one are you on?
I'm actually looking at Bobby Smith, BobbySmithBooks.com. If people want to follow along, she's, I think, a Western romance writer.
Right. That, again, the power of PubSite is that database and the way we can display it. So what you do is you just go in and enter all of your books. And we even have a feature, if you have this many books, if you can supply us with a spreadsheet with the basic information like title, pub date, binding, that sort of thing, we can import that in so you don't have to enter each one individually. But once you do enter the titles, you can assign what's called categories to them. And then once you assign a category to them, you can make those books show up on a particular page.
So if you have a series or something, Bobby has a Rapture series and Brides of Durango series.
Right. So you create a category called the Rapture series and you assign those books to it. But then, because this is database, you can assign those books to other categories too. So if she wanted to list her books like this, all books that start with A, B, C, F, H, K. So you assign it to one of those categories also, the book will automatically show up on both pages. You don't have to do anything additional. So this, again, is the power of PubSite. If you were to try that with WordPress, you'd have to create the new pages from scratch. So if you wanted to have, or for example, say you have categories of fiction, nonfiction, and history. And a lot of books, of course, will go in nonfiction and history. Within seconds, you can make that happen. You wouldn't have to create those subject category pages and manually add all your books onto it.
So great. And then also I'm looking at some authors who have book giveaways, and it seems to attach to their email newsletter. So why don't we talk about the email newsletter? I'm using ConvertKit. Some people use MailChimp or Aweber or Constant Contact or MailerLite or, the whole, there's so many of them now. How do you integrate that into PubSite?
Okay, yeah, we suggest people use a third-party service like MailChimp, and it's very simple. All you do is you go set up your account at MailChimp, then you set up a list that you want email addresses to go into, and there's a tab to create a form. So you click on that, and you create the form you want, which is usually just going to be something that says, please sign up for my mailing list.
Or hopefully something more markety than that.
Yes.
Like, here, get my free first book in a series.
Right.
And just so you know, I know MailChimp and ConvertKit and everybody, they have little videos, really friendly, that help you create that sign-up form.
Yeah.
So we won't go into that here. We'll wait to talk to some mailing list service for that. Yeah.
But yeah, it's very easy. And once you create a form, you decide what it's going to be, then they give you a little paragraph of code. I hate to use the word code because it scares everyone, but all you have to do is copy it and bring it up to your PubSite. And we have another box that you paste it into. And it will automatically appear, for example, in your interior page side column, or you can create a new page and have it appear there. And then also what's very popular now are those pop-up forms you see. So every time you arrive at a website now, you get a form that pops up for you to sign up for the mailing list. And generally what the mailing list services tell you to do is put the code in what's called your HTML head tag. And we give you a very simple, easy access to it. Again, it's just a little form. So that code that you got from MailChimp, you just paste into that box and you have a pop-up form on your homepage.
Nice. Yeah. The mailing list aspect is so important. Um,
Absolutely.
what else is important on what is the most important thing about on your website?
Well, let me just mention one other thing quickly. I don't know if it's the most important, but the way I explain the bookseller buttons work, where you go to Amazon, find your book, copy the URL, come back and paste it into a form, and the button appears. The same thing happens with the follow me buttons. So you want to have the follow me buttons on your website where people can click on a little icon and get to your Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. We also have Goodreads on there because this is a book site. So that it works the same way. Go to your Facebook page, just copy the URL out of the top of your browser, come back and paste it into a box, and automatically your follow me button for Facebook would appear. And again, you can add whatever ones you want and remove them very easily.
Yeah. And I'm looking at this one, Johanna Staubach. She has the pigs
The
book.
pig, I love that photo.
This is a great website, Johanna Staubach.com. It's in the portfolio area of PubSite, but she has a pop-up and she has some really great photos. How do you size those photos in the header? You provide your own, right? You don't have
Yeah, what we say is, you can use what sometimes some people refer to as the Facebook size, which is, I think, about 2,500 pixels wide. But definitely you want to try to get it to be at least 2,000 pixels wide. So when somebody opens their browser full screen, it still fills the whole browser horizontally. In terms of height, it can be anything you want. The height will automatically adjust to the size of your image.
So if you go to canva.com, there is a template for the Facebook header. You could use that, right?
Yes, and we do that a lot. We set up some sites for authors, and that's what we've done. This one for Johanna Staubach was probably done in Canva.
Okay, so what if I don't have a book yet? I don't have a website. I don't even have a domain name, and I don't really quite know what a domain name is. Can you handle all of that for authors?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, we encourage authors to get a website up as soon as they can. Even if you haven't written your book yet, you can start blogging and people will start finding you. You'll start moving up in the Google rankings. So you can never get started too early. So get a website set up. And then, as I mentioned, we have various homepage designs. And one of the homepage designs doesn't even include any books. It includes an author bio and then blog posts beneath it. So if you don't have a book yet, you can still use PubSite. You would choose that one. You would have a little author bio and photo at the top, and then your blog post would start filling in below that.
And
So
hopefully also your email newsletter sign up.
Yes, yes. And also throughout the pages, there's a lot of areas which you almost can't even really see. But when you're in edit mode, there's like blank areas at the tops of pages or bottoms of pages where you can put additional content, including mailing list signups.
Okay, but I have to have a domain name first. And I use GoDaddy, and a lot of people there are a lot of different places to buy domain names. So what if I don't want to hassle with that? Can you handle that for us?
Well, first of all, we have, when you sign up and start setting up your site, it would be like, if I did it, it would be johnburke.pubsitepro.com. If you never want to get a domain name, you don't have to. You can just use that forever. And we have some people who do. They don't want to hassle with a domain name at all. But if you want your own domain name, which we encourage, we can do it for you, but we sort of encourage people to go to GoDaddy or networksolutionsregister.com and register your domain name there. We encourage people to go to GoDaddy because we think it's the best and easiest to use. And we also encourage people to always keep your domain name separate from your hosting. You can't, sometimes they'll be together because GoDaddy's a domain name registrar, but now they also host websites. But you want to keep it separate. You don't want to have a situation where you hire somebody to develop your website and they register your domain name for you in their account and you never have access to it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Because I mean, honestly, I have my hosting is with GoDaddy and so are my domain names, but I manage my own pro hosting. I don't use their service at all. So I see what you mean. So they'll have control and it will be hard to extricate yourself if you need to.
Right. We've encountered many situations where authors came to us and they didn't know how to get access to their domain name.
Oh, dear.
Don't ever let that happen. So even if somebody else does register it for you, make sure you have the login, the username.
Right. So Google, let's just veer off into search results right now. I understand, and maybe this is not true anymore, but that the longer you terms are, if you register it for 1 year, it doesn't show up naturally on Google as nearly as often as it would if you registered it for 10 years at a time. Is that true?
Yeah, well, that's been something I have heard in the past too. With Google, you never know. Everything is so
That's true.
it's the secret sauce and they won't give out their ingredients.
Well, it's nice too because you just don't want it to expire. And if you have your name, I have carlaking.com and I'm never going to let that expire. And I renew it 10 years at a time.
Exactly. If you can do that, if you have the money and you're going to have it forever, do it for 10 years at a time. But never do it for 1 year. That's kind of a no-no because what Google found out was that a lot of people that would just register for 1 year were bogus. They were just set up as scammers or spammers. And so they downplay those sites.
That's interesting because I think GoDaddy, maybe others do this too, is they automatically sign you up for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
I think you can downgrade to one, but I mean, it's only $8.99 a year or something like that.
It's not a lot of money.
And it gets cheaper the more years you add. So
exactly. Yeah. So if you're certain this is what the domain name you want to use, do a minimum of 5 years right off the bat.
Cool. Well, okay, good. So you go register your domain name, you buy it for hopefully 10 years. Go over to PubSite, you sign up and you say, okay, here's my domain name. And it just rolls from there, right?
Yeah. When you are going to make that change, you have to go into your domain name record, say at GoDaddy, and make one little change in it. It's a very simple one. We have a video to show you how to do it. But also, if you want us to do it, just email us and with your GoDaddy login, and we'll go in and do it for you.
Oh, that's nice. And GoDaddy has great customer support too. So
they do.
Yeah. So between both of you, you'll get it figured out. I know it's not that hard, but it is intimidating.
Yeah, it can be. And that's why we offer to do it for people.
Okay. So while we're talking tech terms, GoDaddy is your domain name registrar and PubSite is hosting your website.
Correct.
Okay. So just to further that down the road, if you don't want to get a domain name, I could be carlaking.pubsite.com. Yeah.
Actually, for that, we use the domain name PubSite Pro.
PubSitePro.com.
Yeah. carlaking.pubsitepro.com.
But really, we want to promote our brand. So not to denigrate your service, but I'd rather leave that out so that I keep my brand clean.
That's only for the people who adamantly refuse to go get their own domain name.
Right.
No, we're besides website developers, we're book marketers, and we know that you should have your own domain name in your.
Right. So for the authors who may be listening who are just, want to get a website up and running and they don't want to deal with it yet, they want to get started, they might do that. You might choose the PubSite Pro branded one.
Right. You can do that. Mm-hmm. But again, in terms of search engine results, you don't want to be changing your domain name midstream.
Oh, that's right.
So, if you're going to use your own domain name, do it right from the start.
Excellent advice. Okay. So what does this, I'm looking at these beautiful websites on a very big Apple screen and they look lovely, but what if I go to my iPhone or Android device? How's it going to look?
They will work perfectly. If you take the right-hand edge of your browser window and move it into the left, you'll see what happens.
You may have heard that Google will not rank you very high or even eliminate you from search results if you don't have a mobile-friendly website. So rest assured that this is mobile-friendly.
Yes, all of the designs, layouts, all of the websites done in PubSite are mobile-friendly or what they call responsive.
That's the tech term. And I'm looking
And
at the
essentially,
Johanna Silverrock site, and it looks lovely. I still see the two little pigs in the water at the top, and her lovely author photo and her follow me buttons.
and another site you might want to look at just for a little show and tell is johnjakes.com. And it's just JOHNJAKES.com.
Okay, I'm going to follow along here.
He's a very famous author from back in the 1970s and 80s. He wrote mega bestsellers, North and South, and the Kent Family Chronicles. And they sold millions of copies and were big miniseries like that rivaled Roots at the time. And this is one of the layouts we have. We have a carousel where you can display as many covers as you want, and it'll scroll when you click on it.
Where is that? Is that under books?
No, the carousel is on the right on the home page.
Oh, okay. I clicked too quickly. Cool.
So you see the 4 or 5 covers there.
So it just keeps scrolling to the right. Yeah.
Right,
Great.
right.
Nice.
So that's
another way. If you have a ton of books, it's another way to display them, isn't it?
Yeah, we have a number of authors using this. It's a great way to display many books right at once. And each book cover is a link to that book's page. And again, you can choose which books go here and again, in what order they appear.
Yeah, this is lovely. I really like this layout as well.
And then I'll just show one thing in the menu of that site. If you mouse over the books menu, you'll see we've set up all of his series. But then we also have buttons for his 2 big series, menu buttons on the main menu for North and South and the Kent Family.
Oh, I see. So you can choose to have it drop down under books, and you can create a menu item as well.
Right. So you have a great deal of flexibility. There's a lot of tips and tricks for getting that menu to do exactly what.
Okay, you've spruced this up more since you gave me that demo. That's nice.
Yeah, well, I hope so. We've been working on it for another year.
So I think we've maybe gotten enough into the geeky details, but you have such a marketing background. I want you to talk a little bit about how many authors and maybe drop some names.
Yeah, our original company, FSB Associates, has been around since the mid-90s. And it started as a marketing services for books and authors. My partner and I, who happens to be my wife also, were both in book publishing for a number of years in New York. And she decided to go out on her own and start FSB Associates. I joined her like a year and a half later, and we started developing author websites. So that was fall of 96. The first site we did was a big one. It was Sue Grafton, who was one of the biggest selling authors at the time. And we still have her site, believe it or not. We've redesigned it 4 times. So we've been developing websites for over 20 years. And we brought all of that experience and knowledge to PubSite. In a parallel fashion, we know book marketing. That's what we've been doing. We've been doing online marketing for books for all those 20 years. So all of that knowledge is pulled in to PubSite.
That's true. Falja actually has a book on book marketing.
Yes, she does. She has a book on online marketing for busy authors.
That's right. That's a good one.
So, that's us. We're all about books, authors, and online marketing for books.
And the author website is really your major marketing tool. I mean, it's you central, right?
Yes.
I underestimate that. So are there what are the common mistakes authors make with websites?
I would say, well, first of all, you'll hear some authors say that they don't need one. And we very much disagree with that, not just because we develop author websites, but you just can't do what you want to do on someplace like Facebook or Twitter. You can't.
I've heard authors say that too. Hey, no, I'm on Facebook and that's enough because people can follow me there.
Yeah, that's not so. You don't have complete editorial and design control over Facebook. So all of a sudden one day they may decide, okay, you can't do this thing anymore, and you're out of luck.
And that's kind of the same with WordPress. So even if you do manage your own website, so I know I was scrambling because I manage and have 5 or 6 websites for my different businesses and books. And it's like, okay, mobile responsive. Great. I have to deal with that. So It's nice to put that off on your shoulders for $20 a month. It's pretty worth it, I think.
Right. Well, John Jakes that we were just looking at, we did his original site in 1998. And I couldn't get him to agree to an update. So we just did it. We just like put his information in PubSite, created the site, showed it to him, and he approved it.
Oh, nice.
Now he has a modern, mobile-friendly website.
Yeah, that's a relief.
And then some of the other authors we've done over the years, we did Alan Alda's original website, did and still have Tom Clancy, Clive Cussler, Robert Parker, Jonathan Kellerman, quite a number of big authors.
Oh, that's quite a list.
Yeah, we've been pretty fortunate, I'd say.
That must be fun working with those folks.
It certainly is. And most of them are very nice and easy to work with.
Yeah. So, okay, let's go. What are the major menu items that I'm looking at? Of course, there's home and blog and books. I just saw press kit.
Yeah, we often recommend an author does some sort of press kit or press or media page. You know, even if you have nothing to put on it at start, you can always like a photo and a book cover for download. Print media usually wants a high resolution, 600 DPI or more. So you can put that on there. You can put a higher resolution book cover on there. And then you can start doing things like adding links to media that you've gotten or book review quotes. Basically, it's a page where if someone is interested in covering you or reviewing your book or interviewing you on radio, that they would go to your site and they would naturally gravitate to that page, and they would find on that page everything they need to make a decision about covering you. And then if they are going to do it, all the materials they need to do that.
Yeah, and it occurs to me, I've been talking to Beta Books and Lean Pub and all those sort of pre-publishing, beta publishing site. You could link to your stories there and have a sign up for early readers so that you can start collecting reviews before your book is finished.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, if you can get some pre-pub reviews, that always helps. You can put them on that page. You can put them on the home page if they're good ones.
So what
and then, you started to ask me before about what are some mistakes that authors make.
Oh, right.
And the biggest one was not having a website. But I would say, one thing is design. I see authors make mistakes on the design a lot. They go too much for the wow factor. And they see these websites that have big graphic images, animation, things moving, flashing, popping, sliding in and out. It might catch the eye initially, but it takes away from what you want the visitor to focus on, and that's you and your books. So you should have, your name, the name of your books, keywords about what you're writing about. That text, real text, should be on your homepage and throughout your website.
And as writers, we want to focus on our words. We'd rather focus on our words, many of us, than building websites and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a big drawback of platforms like Wix and Squarespace, very oriented towards the big graphics and the animation and that sort of thing. So they're not always very appropriate for book and author websites.
That's true. I have known many authors who are attracted to those because they are so pretty and they are very easy to use. But I feel like they're more appropriate if you're selling some sort of a product and not a book.
Right. If you're a restaurant or a florist or something where it's all visual, no text, they're more appropriate.
Well, I'm glad we talked about that because I hadn't really consciously realized that. I knew they were bad, but for authors.
And we've had, refugees from Wix and Squarespace who couldn't quite do what they wanted to there. And then we also get the refugees from WordPress because they found it so very frustrating to use.
Yeah. I bet you had a lot of people jump when the whole mobile responsive thing came up because that was pain. I had to change my theme. I paid for, and I like to tinker with websites, my own website, and highly customize it. And I have often, and I do want to promote PubSite because it's an awesome tool. And I even tell people who are kind of tinkering with WordPress to just jump on PubSite and use it and tinker with your website until you get familiar with WordPress and are confident and then switch over. And I'm sure a lot of people don't, but that's what this is all about. Is I really love to find the good products, tools, and services to float them to the top for authors. So I'm looking at Shara
Aguirre, I think.
Aguirre, Aguirre. Beautiful.
And this is one where she designed the banner and put it in the middle of the page instead of up at the top.
Sweet. Okay. So I hope people are going to go poke around this site and sign up for that 2-week trial period. I think you're going to be impressed. And just as a last note, I always like to ask if you have a specific tip or maybe a warning or something to leave authors with. Do you have something like super, super important or?
Just, I would say in general, first of all, get your site up sooner than later. Don't wait for your book to publish, and get good content on your site. You know, the old thing, content is king. No, I don't mean Carla King, but content is king. That's what the search engines are looking for. That's what they primarily judge your site on. The other important thing that they judge your site on is who and how many sites link to your site. That's a very important thing. So, and that's another argument for getting your site up as early as possible. As soon as you get your site up, find people to link to your site. It can be family and friends, colleagues, or start getting writing sites to link to you, or if somebody does do a review for you or whatever, get them to link back to your site, because that's the other important thing to Google. How many sites are linking to yours? And if they're more important sites or higher traffic sites, they're weighted even heavier, because what that tells Google is that your site must have some value if these other sites are all linking to you. Those are your tips: good content and good links to you.
Great. Well, thanks for being on. I really, really appreciate you talking about it. And I appreciate the product. It's a great one. So thanks.
Well, thank you very, very much, Carla. And I appreciate having the forum to discuss it.
Thanks for listening to the Author Friendly Podcast. And I hope you'll subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Also, go check out selfpubbootcampcourses.com and poke around. There are some free lessons for you in there. Have you got a suggestion for a guest or a company that you want to hear about? Go to selfpubbootcamp.com and hit the contact form and let me know. Until next week, this is Carla King signing off of the Author Friendly Podcast. Thanks.